Always news, always network, always power, CCNTV. Always news, always network, always power, CCNTV. Good afternoon and welcome to The Rundown. I'm your host, Captivating Christian, and here are some of your top stories for today, the 19th of September of 2022. Puerto Rico suffers total blackout as Hurricane Fiona brings a threat of flooding and mudslides. Also, 8 million ordered to evacuate as Typhoon Nanmadol slams Japan. And in other news, President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden pays their respects to Queen Elizabeth ahead of the funeral, which will of course take place as this broadcast is being aired. Sweetie Pie star Tim Norman has been found guilty in the murder-for-hire trial. Also in other news, Cedric the Entertainer hits Herschel Walker in a new attack ad. Attorneys for duped immigrants flown to Martha's Vineyard call for criminal investigation. The Republican governor made false promises to the immigrants in order to dupe them to travel, lawyers say. Marjorie Taylor Greene warns gubernatorial race Democrat Stacey Abrams to get the hell out of Georgia. New York City considers legal action against Texas over the immigrant buses. And lastly, The Woman King leads the box office with a $19 million debut. Let's get to the news. Power has gone out across all of the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico on Sunday, according to the poweroutage.us, as Hurricane Fiona bears down on the islands, which are already grappling with the threat of flooding and mudslides from a Category 1 storm. Puerto Rico is 100% without power due to the transmission grid failure from the Hurricane Fiona. The governor of Puerto Rico confirmed the outage in a tweet, noting that the entire electrical system was out of service and officials have activated the proper protocols to work to restore the power. 5 years after Puerto Rico's power grid was devastated by Hurricane Maria in September of 2017, leaving many residents without power for months, but officials have stressed that it won't be like the last time. Not long before the lights went out, public safety and crisis manager of the Luma Energy, which operates Puerto Rico's power grid, said that utility authorities plan to repair and restore electricity with the help of the local government agencies. Fiona has continued to strengthen Sunday and now packs a substantial winds of about 85 miles per hour, according to the National Hurricane Center, which was updated at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, which at this point the storm was 25 miles southwest of the city. The storm's impact has already been felt. At least one death has been reported. A powerful Typhoon Nanmadol is on a path that will put the entire country of Japan at risk for life-threatening impacts, including widespread flooding, damaging winds, and coastal inundation. Earlier this week, meteorologists have warned that lives and properties will be at risk throughout the country as the typhoon, which as of late Sunday local time had strength of a Category 3 major hurricane, maximum sustaining winds of about 111 to 129 miles per hour, or 178 to 208 kilometers per hour. As of Sunday evening local time, more than 8 million people have been ordered to evacuate in the southern and western part of the mainland of Japan. Nanmadol made its initial landfall in the southern part of Japan, the southernmost island of the mainland of Japan on Sunday, and at the time of landfall, the typhoon had a central pressure of at least 27.61 inches of mercury. This pressure reading launched Nanmadol into the history books as one of the top 5 strongest storms to make landfall in Japan since record keeping began in 1951. Significant tree and power line damage are expected with these gusts of winds. Structural damage are also expected. Expect strongly discouraging people from venturing out during the height of the storm, as flying debris can turn into deadly projectiles. Those indoors should stay away from glass windows. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden on Sunday paid their respects to Queen Elizabeth II as world leaders gathered in London ahead of the late monarch's state funeral. The Bidens gave tribute to the Queen as her coffin laid at Westminster Hall, with the president placing his hand over his heart. He and the First Lady also signed separate condolence books. The two also attended King Charles III reception at Buckingham Palace. The trip comes at a time of political change in the UK, where the Prime Minister Liz Truss just took office. She and President Biden will hold their first bilateral meeting in New York on Wednesday, when both are there at the U.S. General Assembly. The Queen died at the age of 96 after serving as head of state for nearly 70 years, a record tenure for a British monarch that spanned more than 14 U.S. presidencies. Buckingham Palace announced September 8th that she died peacefully at Balmoral Castle, her Scotland estate. Federal jury in Missouri convicted reality star Tim Norman on Friday of all charges for his role in the murder-for-hire killing of his nephew, 21-year-old Andre Montgomery Jr. Norman, 43, was found guilty of 2 counts of federal murder-to-hire and 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire and mail fraud, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Missouri said in a press release. Prosecutors argued that the motive in the case was greed, and jurors heard 7 days of testimony. Quoted, Norman took out a life insurance policy worth $450,000 on Montgomery, then arranged through intermediaries his nephew's murder so that he could profit from it. Both Norman and Montgomery starred on OWN's reality series Welcome to Sweetie Pies. The series centered on the St. Louis soul food chain Sweetie Pies, which was founded by Robbie Montgomery, Norman's mother and Andre's grandmother. The show ran from 2011 to 2018. In 2014, Norman obtained a $450,000 life insurance policy on his 18-year-old nephew, Andre Montgomery, on which Norman was the sole beneficiary. Prosecutors in the previous statement said on March 21st of 2016, Norman contracted the life insurance policy in an attempt to collect on the life insurance policy he had obtained for his nephew. A total of 4 people were indicted in the case. All 3 of Norman's co-defendants pleaded guilty before the trial. He is scheduled to be sentenced on December 15th. Herschel Walker faced an attack from an unlikely source on Thursday as Cedric the Entertainer roasted the Georgia Republican Senate candidate with an ad looking to boost the Democrats' odds in a crucial race. Her 90-second spot, put out by the Progressive Action Fund, takes aim at the Georgia Republicans' gaffes and controversial statements since launching his bid for the upper chamber, with a 30-second video also set to release on digital platforms. The actor decided to weigh in to the race comes as polls show that Walker is neck and neck in a battle against Senator Ralph Warnock, the Democrat out of Georgia, in the state expected to play a key role in determining which party holds control in the upper chambers. Authorities representing the Venezuelan asylum seekers flown thousands of miles to an affluent holiday island in Massachusetts at the behest of Republican governors have formally requested authorities open a criminal investigation, claiming that the victims were induced to aboard airplanes and cross state lines under false pretenses. Lawyers for the Civil Rights LCR, a Boston-based group representing 30 of the 48 people flown from Texas to Martha's Vineyard on Wednesday, say that individuals, including state officials, including Florida's governor, made numerous false promises to migrants, including work opportunities, schooling for their children, and immigration assistance in order to induce them to travel. According to the LCR, which is providing pro bono legal assistance to the asylum seekers, the Venezuelans were dumped in which was essentially a coordinated political stunt targeting vulnerable people based on their race and country of origin. Those flown to the holiday island included women and children as young as 2 years old, testing what they call as a failure of the federal government to secure the borders, have spent millions of taxpayer dollars, including funds allocated for COVID relief, by busing thousands of migrants and refugees to Washington, D.C., New York City, and Chicago. On Saturday, about 50 migrants, including 1-month-old baby, was sent on a bus to Texas to Washington, D.C., home of the Vice President Kamala Harris. Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Republican out of Georgia, has called on Stacey Abrams, a candidate for governor, to get the hell out of Georgia if she doesn't like the poor living conditions. Prior to speaking at a rally with the former President Donald Trump on Saturday, Greene also spoke with Real America's Voice, a Republican candidate running in Georgia. Greene also weighed in on Abrams' remarks about Georgia being the worst state to live in because of the poor mental health care and high incarceration rates. Well, I'm all for getting the hell out of Georgia, Stacey, the lawmaker explained. New York is eyeing legal action to stop Texas Governor Greg Abbott from sending more buses full of asylum seekers to the city. Mayor Eric Adams said on Sunday, at the very least, 6 more buses from Texas arrived in the city Sunday morning. Adams also floated the idea of using cruise ships to house the migrants who have been entering the city homeless shelters by the thousands. Our legal team is looking into legal challenges we could do with Texas. We believe that there are some options we have, because when you involuntarily place someone on a bus, we believe actually skates the law. You're not leaving any stones unturned to make sure that New Yorkers are not being treated in an unfair way. At least 11,000 migrants have entered the city's homeless shelters since May, including 2,500 who arrived on buses chartered by Abbott, leading Adams to declare the shelters at their breaking point. The city has opened 23 emergency shelters and expected to open 38 more, the mayor says. City Hall is now looking into possibilities of bringing in cruise ships as temporary housing continues. Adams also said that the administration of the former mayor Mike de Blasio has considered to address a surge in homelessness, but never followed through on it. This is an American crisis that we need to face, a humanitarian crisis that was made by human hands by most of the governors of the southern states, Adams said on ABC This Week. The Democratic mayor accused Abbott and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who last week flew a full plane full of asylum seekers to Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts, of using the moves to distract attention from political controversy harmful to Republicans ahead of the midterm elections. Texas also dropped off a bus full of people outside of the home of Vice President Kamala Harris this weekend. This is to cover up the erroneousness of human rights that both governors have been participating in. Hey, this is Captivating Christian here to remind you to tune in to Politics and Wellness every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Politics and Wellness every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. The Woman King, a historical action epic starring Viola Davis, has ruled the domestic box office charts in its opening weekend. Blustering by stellar reviews and positive words of mouth, the movie collected $19 million from its 3,765 North American cinemas over the weekend, arriving at the higher end of expectations. Independent tracking services projected that The Woman King would kick off with a $15 million to $18 million intake, while Sony estimated the debut closer to be around $12 million. Sony is lucky the film exceeded its ultra-controversial forecast. The Woman King cost $50 million to produce, not including the tens of millions in marketing expenses, including a premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival. The movie also co-stars one of E1's, Gina Prince. The Woman King, which tells the story of an all-female warrior unit known as the Igoji, who protected the West African kingdom from 17th to the 19th century. Once again, thank you for watching CCN Midday News. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also hit that notification button so you will never miss another news update. Have a great day. Peace.